Once upon a time, a powered-up hedgehog collided with a Pikachu, and a rainbow of Chaos Emerald energy stretched for miles across the land. From this rainbow, 5 mysterious eggs flew from it to locations around the region. Mysterious beams of light also shone from the rainbow. But that's another story or two. Anyway, one egg landed in a jungle, and it was found by a mother Venusaur and a father Scyther. Another egg landed by a beach, found by a mother Swampert. Another egg landed softly at a church stoop. It was found by a couple of nuns. Another egg landed in a dojo, occupied by young and old warriors. And the last egg landed in the mountains by its lonesome. See now how these eggs hatched and grew. So here's a fun fact. When I first planned on doing the Sonichu redesign video, I actually planned to do more characters than just Sonichu and Rosechu. In fact, I had planned to do the entirety of the chaotic combo and Blake. And then I thought, wait a second, maybe this is too much work for a video that I don't even know people are gonna like. So I scrapped most of the characters and decided to just focus on Sonichu and Rosechu. Little did I know that the redesigned series would actually become a new staple of this channel. I'm actually really happy that you guys enjoy these videos. It really felt like I took a risk and it paid off. So today, I'm finally going back to the Sonichu series and tackling the chaotic combo. Sorry, Blake, maybe next time. I actually streamed all 5 redesigns, so shout out to the people that caught those live streams. It was really fun to share the creative process and actually get feedback from you guys. I decided to play with a few ideas for these redesigns to spice things up a bit. First, I played with their Pokemon species more. I didn't want just Pikachus over and over, so I made each one a specific member of the Pikachu family, such as Pokemon that are kind of sort of related to Pikachu. People tend to call those Pika clones. Second, I assigned each redesign a Dungeons & Dragons class. Each member of the chaotic combo has a different kind of fighting style, and a different set of morals even. So I thought it'd be interesting to see them as a ragtag Dungeons & Dragons party. So let's start with the very first member of the chaotic combo introduced in the comic, Wild Sonichu. He's a grass-type Sonichu raised by a Scyther and a Venusaur in a dense forest. Since he knows how to navigate the forest and use it to his advantage, I figured that the Ranger class would be the best fit for Wild. I also decided to turn him into a Pachirisu. Pachirisu are known to live in trees, plus they can actually learn a few grass moves through different methods. By the way, the method that I used for the Sonichu and Rosechu redesigns, I was going to use on the chaotic combo when I was planning all that. I actually still had the sketches from that, so I decided to keep them in the corner as inspiration. I got a basic sketch done, complete with a typical ranger bow, and now I'm gonna start drawing. First we gotta get the face sorted out. I decided to exaggerate the cheek pouches more. Wild is a Pachirisu after all, and they do have bigger cheek pouches than a Pikachu, so it's best to exaggerate it in this case. His original quill style is kind of messy and all over the place, so I gave him a quill style that was still messy but easier to understand. Then I added those trademark Pachirisu ears. Wild's original design had these thorns on his arms, so I tried to incorporate that shape into the leather gloves that he's going to wear. Throughout the redesign process, I am going to play with their clothes a lot. Especially here, because when I was looking up ideas for a ranger outfit, they had a lot of different pieces. For example, some wore cloaks and some didn't, some had heavy armor, some had light armor. It really just depended on the type of ranger somebody wanted to create in the first place. Wild needs a sort of light armor, since he likes to climb in trees, so I gave him a set of leather armor, complete with leather boots and gloves, puffy adventurer-style pants, and a leather belt that loops around his waist a few times that's actually connected to his arrow bag, or quiver. I wanted to give him a cape at first, but then there wouldn't have been room for his big Pachirisu tail, so I decided to stick with just a scarf instead. According to the comic, Wild can use his big leafy tail to fly, though he doesn't really use that power very much, so I just decided to give him a big puffy Pachirisu tail. Maybe with enough force he could actually spin it to fly. His bow also had some pieces of cloth wrapped around it, so I incorporated that onto the clothes as well. Here's the sketch! Now we're gonna move straight on to coloring. I wanted to keep the color palette that Pachirisu had in the first place, but I also wanted to keep Wild green, because that is his signature color. So his base fur color is going to be a very light, soft, kind of minty green, and I'll use a deeper green for accents. And then I kept his cheek pouches yellow because it works. And then I realized that green, brown, and yellow is actually a nice color palette for a ranger. So I tried to stick with those 3 colors. I did brown for the leather, yellow for the leather accents, and different shades of green for the rest of his clothes. Originally, Wild had brown eyes, and that wasn't a bad idea, but I wanted to see how brown and yellow would work together as an eye color. And I actually liked it, so I kept it. The first member of the chaotic combo is done. Wild Sonichu, the lawful neutral ranger. The next member that was introduced was Bubbles Rosechew, so let's design her next. Bubbles was born and raised by the sea. She has the ability to control water, and her body is also somewhat made up of water too. Her design was actually inspired by Meryl, and since Meryl was also known as Peekaboo back in the day, it still fits with my idea of the chaotic combo being in the Pikachu family. Since she specializes in water magic, which is a type of nature magic, I felt like giving her the Druid class fit her best. After all, there are specific kinds of druids that just specialize in water magic. Since Bubbles is a Meryl, and Meryl is known to be a very round Pokemon, I decided to incorporate more round shapes to her design. I made her eyes slightly more round. I gave her the big round Meryl ears instead of the pointed hedgehog ears. Basically, I just gave her more than just the Bob Meryl tail. I wanted her to actually look like a Meryl. I then turned her long flowing hair into an actual water wave to give off that idea that her body is made up of water. There was so much more you could do with this character, especially with all these concepts that she had about her. So I really wanted to play with everything that I could. After that was all settled, I moved on to her outfit. Since Bubbles lives by the beach, I wanted to give her a more beachy attire. I also took a lot of inspiration from different kinds of water druid characters that I found. A lot of them had a lot of flowing garments, so I gave her this big flowy layered skirt that had coins on it. I figured she would have found the coins on the bottom of the ocean and added them to her skirt herself. As I was playing with the skirt, I actually wanted to grab something from the original design and add it to the redesign. And that is the wave patterns that she has on her body. To Chris Chan's credit, the wave design pattern was actually a really good idea. I just wanted to expand on the idea even more. After starting with the chest pattern, I gave her a kind of layered bikini top that also kind of looks like seashells. It's kind of an homage to how mermaids are usually depicted with seashell bras. When Bubbles was introduced in the comic, at the end of her segment, she actually mentions wanting to make a seashell necklace. It was kind of a cop-out, really, that we never got to see the seashell necklace, so I added it to the design. I even gave her more than a seashell necklace. She had seashell bracelets and a seashell crown. It was a really cute idea, and I feel like it was kind of lost. Also, going back to the coin doubloons on her skirt, It really helps solidify that she has a sort of like crafty knack to her. Like she's really, really into DIYs. Can you tell I was like having a lot of fun with this? When I moved on to the shoes, I kind of hit a controversial wall in the Sonic community. It's kind of a debate whether or not Sonic characters have toes. And in Bubbles' original design, she has these sandals that expose her feet, and she has like these flipper feet like they do in Sonic X. And to avoid that sort of confusion and debate, I decided to give her these closed-toed water shoes that they use in Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. We'll just call them Schrodinger's Sonic toes. Yeah, let's not actually call them that. That's kind of weird. Never mind. I added more of those water patterns, like I said before, like on her arms and on her legs and on her ears. I actually moved the original head wave pattern to her ears because now she's wearing a seashell crown. Also, if you noticed, I didn't give her any gloves. She's swimming in the water, so it didn't really feel right to give her any gloves, because that'd be weird. Whew, another sketch done. Now to the colors. I, of course, started with that lovely Merrill blue. It was at this point I decided to add the wave pattern to the tail to actually make it pop. Then I started filling in the wave patterns on her body. I tried white at first, but it kind of clashed with the blue a lot, so I decided to change it to a very pale periwinkle. It's the same kind of periwinkle that's on Meryl's belly. Bubbles originally wore purple sandals, and purple and blue actually work really well together, so I decided to make her clothes purple too. And I colored the dangly bits on her skirt gold, just to signify that they are coins. I actually took the pink color that was used on her skin in the original design, and I incorporated that onto her seashell jewelry. I gave her eyes a pink-purple gradient, because I was really in a gradient kick at this point, and someone in chat actually suggested that I use a pink-purple gradient on her skirt, so I tried it out, and I really, really liked it. Chaotic Combo member number 2 is done. Bubbles Rose Blue, the neutral good druid. I'm gonna go out of order of introduction now and move on to Magi-chan Sonichu. Magi-chan is a weird one. He was born on a mountaintop and raised by Mewtwo to harness his psychic abilities. Alolan Raichu is a psychic type, so I'm going to make Magi-chan an Alolan Raichu. And since he learns magic through training and study, I feel like the wizard class fits best. His school of magic is going to be conjuration, since he specializes in teleportation. Another thing to note, Magi-chan is a pun on the word magician. So it works because magicians also have to study in order to use magic, just like wizards. I started by giving him a spellbook, which is an essential tool for wizards. After working on the face and body for a little bit, I moved on to the fun stuff. I tried to figure out a unique ear shape, because while Magi-chan is an Alolan Raichu, his original design had a lot of sharp points to it, so I tried to give his ears a more spiky look. Then I gave him cheek pouches, and I gave his nose the same shape an Alolan Raichu actually has. I decided to give Magi-chan a cloak with his outfit. It just seems a lot more mysterious, and it matches Magi-chan's personality more. Since his name is a pun of the word magician, I went with a more formal look to make him look like a magician, so a shirt with a nice vest over it and dress pants. And to stay in the realm of fantasy, I also gave him leather gloves. Then when I moved on to the shoes, I tried looking for shoes that were still dressy, but a lot more unique. I did a Google search and I found one that I really liked, so I went with that design. After touching up a few things here and there, I moved on to the tail. Just like his ears, I wanted it to have the Alolan Raichu shape, but still have a bit of spiky edge to it. Now that the sketch is complete, you know the drill. I definitely wanted Magi-chan to stay purple, so I went with a color scheme that used different kinds of purple and also different colors that were on Alolan Raichu. I used the Alolan Raichu yellow for his ears, tail, and his buttons, and then I used the brown for the inside of his ears, his nose, and on the lower part of his tail. I tried to make his face all purple at the beginning, but I didn't really like it, so I gave him a nice pale muzzle. The cloak became a shade of blue as a callback to magi-chan's original blue vest. I also used that same brown that I took from Alolan Raichu onto his gloves to make them look like leather gloves. I tried using the blue on more of his outfit, but it didn't really look that good, so I went with a more all-purple look. Plus that matches a little better with the original design. So after I finished deciding the colors for the clothes, I made his spellbook blue instead. That way I had another place to use the blue in order to balance everything out. Then for his eyes, I gave him the same yellow-blue gradient eyes that Alolan Raichu actually has. And here's member number 3, magi-chan Sonola, the true neutral wizard. Since I'm no longer doing these in order, how about we do Punchy Sonichu next? Punchy was born and raised in a dojo. After getting his tail ripped off, he evolved into a powerful Sonichu, and he trained to harness his newfound strength. I decided to keep Punchy a Pikachu for this one, but I'm going to take heavy inspiration from Cosplay Pikachu Libre. He'll be receiving the Monk class as well, since he trains to control his strength and temper. To start out, I really wanted that mask that Pikachu Libre wears to be part of the design, so I sketched his face out first, and then sketched the mask on top of it. I gave him much shorter dreads in order to distinguish him from Knuckles. His first design was basically just Knuckles with Pikachu ears, so he desperately needs a design that makes him look different. After adding the ears, I gave him his signature ripped tail. Just like with the other designs, I turned to Google Images for clothing inspiration. I wanted to give him an outfit that was a cross between a D&D monk and a luchador. So the traditional monk shoes, puffy pants, some bandages, a belt that takes inspiration from championship belts in wrestling. When I moved on to the top half of his body, I decided to beef up his exposed arms, just to get past the idea that he is physically strong. For his torso, I draped loose fabric over his shoulders to give him that sort of monk look, and then I gave him that crop top that Pikachu Libre wears. Now for more bandages on his gloves, and I gave him fingerless gloves to give him a more fighty look. Oh, and he does need a symbol on his mask, so I drew one based off of a Pokeball. It can also be a reference to the magical Sonichu balls that are in the comic. Sketch is done! Coloring time now! Deciding the colors for Punchy was probably the easiest thing to do on this redesign. I basically took all of the colors from Pikachu Libre. Pikachu Libre's cheeks are more orangey red, so I used that orangey red instead of the regular red to further make him more different from Knuckles. His outfit uses the orange, white, and black from Cosplay Pikachu's outfit. I even used Pikachu's yellow in some places as well. I tried using the yellow on the shoes, but they ended up looking like clown shoes, so I just made them black instead. Finally, his eyes stayed red, so it matches everything else. Punchy Soni Libre, the chaotic neutral monk, is complete! This last one is probably my favorite one that I've done, besides Bubbles. We're finishing things off with Angelica Rosechew. Angelica is your picture-perfect religious girl. She was born in a church and raised by nuns, who taught her the teachings of the Lord. Because Christianity exists in the Sonichu universe, I guess? She even has wings like an angel, which is where she gets her name. Lucky for us, there is a Pokemon that is flying electric type in the Pikachu family, Emolga! And because she's super religious, I figured that there is no other class worthy of Angelica than a paladin that follows the teachings of Lathander, the god of birth and renewal. Basically, a light-based god. Yes, I could have chosen cleric as well, but I decided to go with paladin to make Angelica a little bit more interesting. First of all, I absolutely had to give Angelica a battle axe, blessed with the holy light of Lathander. Angelica's one of the weird characters where sometimes she has cheek pouches and sometimes she doesn't. I feel like this is because Chris-chan forgets to draw them sometimes. I'm gonna stick with yes, she does have cheek pouches since she's going to be an Emolga. After giving her a pose where she's standing proudly with her trusty battle axe, I moved on to her big round ears. I definitely wanted to keep her ponytail since it is pretty iconic, so I shaped it to look like an Emolga tail. There is one design choice that I did like from her original design, her gloves. They're slightly longer than normal Sonic gloves, and they don't have a cuff on them. They also have these really cute blue gems on the end of them. I wanted to incorporate these blue gems into more of her design, such as her armor and also her battle axe. Speaking of which, she wouldn't be a paladin without a suit of armor. I don't draw armor a lot. Well, I don't draw armor at all, so this was definitely a learning experience for me. I tried to make something that was both functional and still had a sort of girly fantasy look to it, since Angelica is still very girly. It won't show up in the sketch, but during the line art process I did add wings to her belt. Okay, let's get to coloring. Before I started working on the colors, I decided to incorporate her wings in a very interesting way. She can now create energy wings using her electric powers. For the white bits, instead of using pure white, I used a very pale blue instead, kind of like what I did with Bubbles. It's just much easier on the eyes that way. Plus, blue is a color that is used very much in media to represent calmness, and Angelica tends to be the voice of reason in most cases. Her body is a shade of black because it's actually a cloth layer under her metal armor. Instead of yellow cheek pouches like Emolga usually has, I went with blue because I thought it would look nice. Then it was a matter of putting the blues and yellows in different spots to see what fit. And this is the final result. Angelica Rose Olga, the lawful good paladin. Whew! This was probably the most challenging set of redesigns I have ever done, but it was definitely worth it. I'm really happy I stuck with this D&D idea because it gave me a lot more to work with, and it really amplified the characters so much more. Plus, can you imagine a campaign with this crazy crew? It'd probably be pretty insane. Thanks again to everyone that helped me along the way. What's next? Who knows? But I'll see you guys in the next redesign.